Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Quantum Leap Business Show, the 24-hour virtual global show coming to you in 3 different time zones. Today we have Lucas Tindell, who will be inspiring you to excel. Lucas has a passion for people with a drive for helping people reach success. Lucas will focus on how the small pieces influence the big picture and impact the future direction of an organization. Without further ado, Lucas Tindell.
Thank you so much, Jordan. Appreciate it. Excited to be here with you all today, and to anyone who is watching this by replay, we're excited to have you here. Thank you guys for being a part of this. As was said, my name is Lucas Tindell. I am in the US, and I am excited to inspire you to excel. I want to start by answering 5 key questions that I think everyone should answer in their life. And these questions are questions that we all have. We just may not know we have them. And oftentimes when we're going through crisis or a downtime in our lives, as we just came through a pandemic and we're still going through a pandemic, we are fighting to answer these questions. So the first question is, who am I? That's a question we all ask ourselves when things aren't going right. Like, who am I anyway? Right? Who am I to my family? Who even cares what's going on with me, or if I'm here, or if I'm at this company, or if I'm in this family, or whatever it may be? Who am I is an important question that I think we all need to think about. For me, who I am is somebody who believes I am a powerful person. I'm somebody who comes from a great family. I'm somebody who's capable of doing anything, right? I'm somebody who loves people. One thing I always tell people, it's one thing I want people to remember about me, is that I genuinely and truly love people. I really do. And my wife teases me because I'm the person that goes in the store and I talk to everybody. I forget what I'm there for because I'm so busy meeting new people and making new friends. I truly love people, and I love engaging with people, both in person and virtually. Now, I do miss a lot of the in-person interaction that we lost out on in the last year, but I'm excited that it is starting to come back. So that's a part of who I am. And I challenge everybody out there, as we think about this, to think about who they are. Okay. And as we go forward, what we're going to talk about is not only these 5 questions that I want to answer for you, but we're going to talk about what is our post-pandemic playbook. What is our post-pandemic playbook? Now, here in the US, we have things like football, American football, where we throw a ball around. We get to use our hands. I don't know if that's cool around the world. I know a lot of other places you got to use your feet. Don't touch it. What are you doing? What is wrong with you? Americans, stop touching your football. It's for your feet. That's why it's called football. But anyway, I get it. Okay. I grew up playing football. I had family members in the NFL, the National Football League here in the US. And I'm from Canton, Ohio, where American football was created in Canton, Ohio. Here in Canton, Ohio, we have the NFL's Pro Football Hall of Fame. And every year, players of old come to be inducted into this great museum and have their face, a statue of their face put into this Hall of Fame. Okay, so those are things that we think about and things that we're doing here. But I want us to think about, what is our playbook, right? A playbook is, what are the plays we're going to plan to run in every life, in every business, in every family? We have certain things that we're planning to do. We're like, I'm going to wake up in the morning, we look at our calendars, and that's our playbook. This is what I'm going to do. I have a meeting at this time. I'm going to have coffee at that time. I'm going to have a lunch meeting at that time. That's my playbook for the day. But what happens is, oftentimes, it seems like there's things that are coming to offend us. And then we have to defend ourselves from the offensive attack of the offensive players that are just doing their thing, trying to score, trying to drive through traffic to get to their goals. They're trying to get to where they have to go. They're trying to win their game. And sometimes in the process, they're impeding upon my success. So then we find ourselves in defense. Going through the pandemic over the last year, a lot of us found ourselves playing defense. And a lot of us found ourselves reacting instead of being proactive. We didn't know how to proactively move because most of us were not ready for what hit us. Most of us, businesses were not ready. Families were not ready. Hospital systems were not ready. But now we're coming to a point where we have to stop playing defense and responding to attacks, and we have to get back on offense. And we have to rewrite our playbooks. And there's some great lessons that we learned. So we're going to talk about that here in just a minute. So that's who I am. I just told you another one of those 5 questions is, where am I from? I just told you I'm from Canton, Ohio. Again, I'm from a great family. It's an important question for us to think about. It's a question of lineage and heritage. Also think about where we're from as far as the pride we take in where we're from, in the family members who have had levels of success. Now, I know you, like me, probably have a few family members that didn't turn out so well, or maybe didn't accomplish everything, and that's okay. But when I think about where I'm from, I don't focus on those that failed. I focus on those that succeeded, because I believe that I am sprouting from the seed of success. I believe I'm a branch on the tree of success. So even as I think about my post-pandemic playbook that I'm writing right now, that I'm creating every day to be proactive and go at this new world a new way, even in a virtual setting like this, how can I be better prepared to go after this thing? How can I not fumble around with the technology every time? Because now we've been doing it for a while and it's already a part of my playbook. I'm already ready for that adjustment. The family that I come from, where I'm from, are people that are flexible and adaptive. They adjust, good times or bad, prosperity or poverty, right? A recession, depression, or a time of great prosperity in our country and our world. I come from a group of people who know how to do that. That's the family that I come from, and that's important to me. So who am I? Where am I from? Why am I here? That's an important question as we think about, as we're going to develop our post-pandemic playbook. Why am I here? What is my purpose? Well, one, I'm here today because I'm excited to share with you guys. I'm excited to share my excitement and my passion about being proactive. I spent too much of my childhood reacting, right? As a child, I didn't have a lot of choices. I had to go where my parents said we had to go. I had to do the things my parents said do. I had to go to the schools my parents said go to. So we finally grow up and we finally get control. And then for many of us, we were knocked off our feet with a pandemic. A once in 100-year thing just took place. And we all made it and we all survived, and we need to celebrate that. But we also need to learn something that will prepare us for success moving forward. If we don't take something from what we just went through, we're going to go through something again and again be ill prepared to have the success that we want to have. There's a saying, one of my favorite quotes is, successful people do things that unsuccessful people are not willing to do. Successful people do things that unsuccessful people are not. Unsuccessful people are not willing to prepare. Unsuccessful people are not willing to reflect on what we went through and find the good in it. Unsuccessful people are not willing to face adversity. Unsuccessful people are always playing defense and complaining about what's happening to them instead of them happening to life. They're just living life and life is happening. And they say things like, well, life happens, things happen. No, I want to happen and I want to make things happen because I'm taking control of my life, because I know who I am. I know where I'm from, and I know why I'm here. I know my purpose. I challenge everybody to think about what your purpose is. You can't write your playbook without knowing your purpose. Your purpose is your destiny. It's helping you think forward to your destination. Where do you want to go? And we're going to talk about that as well. And then what am I capable of? What am I capable of? What am I able to do? What am I able to do in a pandemic? Well, we learned some things, and we're going to talk about that in just a second, but what am I capable of not in a pandemic? What am I capable of today that 6 months ago was not allowed, or I wasn't able to do, or wasn't safe to do? What can I do today? And there's some things that I can do today that are still maybe restricted, but that doesn't mean I can't take time to prepare for the day when things are fully up and running. The businesses that are waiting for someone, their cities, their towns, their governments, their leaders to approve them to do something, if you're going to wait for the door to open to know what you do when you go in the door, you won't be ready when the door opens. See, I want to be ready when the door opens. I want to be a horse in the stable ready to run out of the gate. I want to be ready to go when the whistle blows. I want to be ready to succeed whenever the moment comes, because while I couldn't move, I was moving in my mind. I was preparing for the success. I was dreaming of the success, and I was actually charting a course. Another one of my favorite quotes is, I believe this is by the author and leadership expert, John C. Maxwell. He said, anyone can steer the ship, but it takes a leader to chart the course. Anyone can steer the ship, but it takes a leader to chart the course. And that was in his book, The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. And it was the law of navigation. And he was talking about the need and the necessity for leaders in life and business and homes to chart a course forward so that people have some idea of where they're going to go. Anyone can steer the ship, right? But who's going to be the GPS, right? Once upon a time, we didn't have GPS, and there's still places around the world that doesn't have GPS to tell you every turn to make. You had to take out a map and a compass and be able to figure that thing out. And somebody had to be wise enough to even lead people through dirt roads and jungles and villages to say, here's how we're going to go from where we are to where we want to go. So we need to know what we're capable of. That's the fourth question. And the fifth question is, where am I going? Which speaks to this same thing. It ties all these things together. Who am I? Where am I from? I need to know where I'm starting. Your GPS is first trying to figure out, where are you? Where am I from? Then why am I here? Why am I here today? Why am I here in this meeting? Why am I here in this situation? Why am I here in this relationship? Why am I here on earth? Why am I here? Right? Then what am I capable of doing in any of these situations? What am I capable of? And then where am I going? What's my destination? Your GPS doesn't work without you telling it your destination. Your wise guide who takes you through the village doesn't know where to take you until you tell them where they're going. The person on the ship doesn't know where to take you unless they know where you're going. We need to know our destination or our destiny. And when I say destiny, I don't want us to think of it as something that we have no control over, right? It's not, I have a destiny and no matter what happens, it just happens. No, I am an active participant in my life. I make choices that lead to my further destiny. Just like your GPS. Your GPS may want to take you down certain roads. If you take another turn, your GPS is going to say rerouting route, changing direction, turn around. What are you doing? You're not listening. Come on back, right? And it reroutes you. Well, just because you have a destination, if you don't choose to follow the course, you can go a lot of different ways to get there. You can detour many times, but our goal and my goal today in inspiring you to excel is to help you take the smoothest, straightest, narrowest path from where you are to where you want to go. So let's think about this pandemic. Let's think about some of the things that happened even during this time, even beyond the pandemic itself. And there's some things that happened around the world. There were world news, and there were some things that happened maybe that spoke a little closer to home. Now, there was an international superstar right before the pandemic hit, an international superstar. I'm hoping you've heard of his name. He certainly was someone who was well known here in the United States. His name was Kobe Bryant. He is a phenomenal basketball player known around the world, suddenly passed on January 26, 2020. This was just 6 days after the first case of COVID came to the US, and about 20 days after the World Health Organization first started talking about this COVID-19 coronavirus thing that is happening somewhere in the world. They're talking about it, right? And then suddenly we're watching the news here in the US, and it's interrupted, and we see a helicopter crash, and we're being told that a beloved player who many of us grew up watching and idolizing and building not only our sports minds and skill set around, but just our general mindset about how we're going to attack life around the way he played the game of basketball. And his game was modeled after the great Michael Jordan. So he was another taste of Michael Jordan playing the game of basketball. It was art in motion. It was exciting to see. He played 20 years for a great organization. He went into retirement with grace and class, and he did many things, and he was moving forward in such an amazing way. And suddenly it was all gone. Just as a pandemic is hitting, a man who is being well known around the world dies in a helicopter crash along with his daughter and several others. The thought of someone going down in a crash, for me as a father, I have 3 daughters and 1 son, and the thought of my children, my girls, my daughter clutching me as disaster is imminent, as death is staring them in the face, is another thing that shakes me when I think about this last year. And it makes me think about all I can do to prepare to excel with the life and the time that I have now. Because he didn't know that was going to happen. They were on their way to a basketball game, and suddenly everything was cut short. So I challenge somebody today to make sure as you think about excelling, make sure you don't just excel in business, but I challenge you to excel in your personal life. I challenge you to go to the people you love and make sure they know how much you care. I challenge you to not say, well, I have to go do all this work to help provide the life that we live so that your children and your family and your spouse can be happy. Well, what value is all the work you do if all they ever see are things and presence, but they never have your presence? They never have you there, right? So the greatest challenge we have is to make sure that we are present. And I hope this last year has taught us that the greatest gift are not the gifts. The greatest gifts are our presence. People need us. We need time together. So many of us have lost loved ones. So that was January 26, 2020. On March 26th of 2020, I too lost somebody who couldn't have been closer to my heart. And it was not a result of COVID or the coronavirus, but in a sense, it played a major impact. 2 months to the day that Kobe Bryant passed away, my own mother passed away of breast cancer. And the saddest thing about it was she didn't even realize what was going on with COVID-19. She didn't know that we were slowly being restricted as to how many times we could visit her. So as her body is breaking down and her cognition is breaking down, she's not realizing that we're not there because we just chose to not be there. We're not there because they're telling us we don't know what we can do. They're limiting the number of family members that can come. They're telling us we can only come one at a time. They're limiting hours. And for her last week of life, they did not allow any visitors into the hospital. So my mom battled her last week of life with breast cancer in the middle of a pandemic, at the beginning of a pandemic, all alone. These are the casualties that we sometimes fail to see. And I don't say that to sadden you. I say that to say this pandemic certainly touched my life, but it didn't stop me because I'm not less inspired to excel. I'm more inspired. One thing my mom told me when she was in the hospital, she went in the hospital on February 1st. And I remember the day Kobe Bryant died, and I asked my mom, I said, Mom, why is it so hard that we lost someone who we never really knew? I said, Mom, we didn't even know him. Why do I feel this pain? And for the first time in my life, my mom said, I don't know. And I was shocked that she didn't know. My mom always had answers for everything. I was blown away. I was like, Mom, what do you mean? And she's like, I don't know why it's so hard, son. I really can't tell you. It's like we did know him, even though we didn't know him. I don't know, son. I just don't know. That was so hard for me, not knowing that just a few months later, I was going to have to answer that question for my children. I was going to have to answer that question for myself. Why is death so hard? Why is it so hard to lose those that we know and love, and even some that we don't actually know, but we love and have a bond with? My mom said to me one day while she was in the hospital during that time, I went to her and she was fighting and she was battling, and she was going through a lot of blood transfusions and so many things that were just, it was painful for her at some point. It was so hard. And I said, Mom, why are you fighting so hard? I said, if you're fighting for us, we're okay. You taught us everything you could teach us. You loved us as much as any person could love another person, Mom. We'll be okay. I don't want you to go, but Mom, if you're going through all this just to stay alive for us, Mom, I don't want you to do it. Why are you fighting so hard? And my mom looked at me and said, son, I don't think it's my time to go. She said, I feel I have more to do. And I'll never forget those words. And those words have become an inspiration for me, a battle cry, so to speak, for me, that I have more to do. My mom believed she had more to do. And when my mom said more to do, she didn't mean more fancy vacations to take or more fancy food to eat or fancy cars to drive. She meant more to do to help love and serve the people she knew, loved, and always served. She meant she wanted to be there for us when we were going through difficult times. She wanted to be there to answer the questions of life. Who am I? Where am I from? Why am I here? What am I capable of? Where am I going? She wanted to be there as a guide along the way. She wanted to be there to help chart the course. Remember, anyone can steer the ship, but it takes a leader to chart the course. My mom was one of the ones in life that always charted the course for everybody around her. When she said she had more to do, that's what she was talking about. She had more to do, not for herself. She had more to do for others. If you want to be inspired to excel, I challenge you to take your focus from inside to outside. It's when we stop focusing on what we can have and do for ourselves and we start focusing on what we can have and do for others that we get the fulfillment that we're always searching for. If there's something strange about an inward look and always focusing on things coming to us that is like a bottomless pit. But as soon as we turn our focus to others, we will learn to be better. We will learn to be happier. We will learn to be more at peace because we realize life is not about the things that I can get. It's really about the things I can give. And that's definitely a lesson that my mom taught me. So again, March 26, 2020, my mom passes away. My father and I were allowed to go into her hospital room. At the last minute, they called us and they said, you are allowed into the hospital. It was about an hour away. They said, rush here right now. Your mother is actively dying. I'd never heard such words, but the doctor said actively dying. That doesn't even sound like something you can actively do. I didn't even know how to respond to it. And we jumped in the car and I'm driving to the world-renowned Cleveland Clinic here in Cleveland, Ohio. And they have some of the best doctors in the world and they do great care. And I know they had done all that they could. And we get in the room and I got to sit with my mom, hug my mom, kiss my mom, love my mom for the last 15, 20 minutes of her life. As she gasped, taking her last breath, eventually no longer breathing, I rush out into the hallway and I call in the doctor and I say, can you come check? I think something's happened. They go get another doctor. They come in the room and they pronounce her dead. It changed my life forever, but I'm not here to make you sad. I'm here to inspire you to excel. I want you guys to think about some of the lessons we learned in 2020. I'm not the only one who lost a loved one during this time. So many have, and some of you may have as well. And I hope it didn't stop you. See, what happens is when things come at us, it either causes us to stop or we use it to stand on. What I do when my life and things around me crumble, I realized this at a young age that I had a choice. When it felt like the world around me crumbled, I could either let it bury me or I could climb out and stand on top of the rubble. And now the same thing that came to bury me is the thing I stand on to give me better perspective. You see, the world's not so big when you're standing at the top of a skyscraper, right? When you're standing on the top of a mountain, everything doesn't look so big. Those problems, all that traffic, all those problems in the world, all those things that look so big, all of a sudden seem very, very small. And that's what happened for me during that time. That's what happened for me on that day. It made me realize that some of the things that I thought were so big were really very small. Let me share with you guys a few other things that went on around the world during this time. Not only did I have personal tragedy, other things went on. There was an explosion. There was an explosion in the country of Beirut that you may remember. They were storing toxic chemicals for years, and it had gone unchecked, and no one had done anything to remedy this issue. But because nothing had ever happened, and this is what happens, and I'm cautioning you right now, because sometimes because the explosion hasn't happened, we take for granted the toxic people, places, and things that are lying around in our lives. Because nothing has happened yet, I'm going to assume it's okay that there's this boiling potential problem in my life. I say this to challenge you. Don't wait for the explosion. There's some relationships that need mended or ended in your life. They need mended to be whole and healthy, or they need to be ended so that the explosion doesn't happen and ruin other portions and parts of your life, both personally and professionally. You need to make some decisions going forward in your post-pandemic playbook. You need to write down a page for mended or ended, and you need to write down the people, places, and things that you're either going to engage with or no longer engage with in your life. You're either going to make it whole and healthy, or you're going to end it altogether. And just remember, just because you end something, it doesn't mean it's a bad thing. I have a beautiful rose bush right outside of my house right now, and it's blooming and it looks beautiful. But you know what my wife does on a regular basis? She goes out there and clips off the dead pieces. She has to end parts of it so that the rest of it can be healthy and whole. Don't be afraid to end things in order to have healthy things blossoming in your life. So that explosion should remind us, let's not let toxic things sit in our lives to potentially cause us great harm. All right. We also learned something this past year about remote work. See, remote work once upon a time was something thought of as a way for people to sit at home, watch their favorite shows, and pretend they work. right? Once upon a time, remote work was not something that people were so excited about. A lot of companies had a lot of issues of trust. And they said, I don't know if we can trust these people working from home. I think everybody who wants to work from home, they're just trying to walk their dog all day, do laundry, watch their shows, and pretend to be online. I don't believe that they're actually doing what they're supposed to do. But what we learned during this time was that it truly is possible to trust capable people to do what they said they were going to do. It's totally possible. I challenge somebody in your post-pandemic playbook, especially if you're a leader at a company or you have workers in your small business, if it's possible. Now, certainly there's jobs where it's not possible. If you own a coffee shop, I don't know how much remote work is going to work for you. Unless they're sourcing coffee beans, I don't think they can work remotely. But you may be in another setting where in your mind, you're saying we have to be together. But being together may simply be a function of how things were always done. But I want you to know this, and I didn't make this up. You probably heard this before. One of the most dangerous statements anyone can make in business is, this is how we've always done it. One of the most dangerous things you can ever say in a business is, this is how we've always done it, or this is how it's always been done. That is no way to create a path forward. That is no way to write a new playbook. If the only plays you're going to run are the plays you've always run, you're going to get the same result you always got. And as things change, it's going to be less valuable. It's not going to work the same. As the world changes, grows, and innovates, you have to be ahead of the curve. You have to be willing to rewrite your playbook as much as possible to have the success you're looking for. It was an amazing time as we discovered things like Zoom. But what we learned in Zoom, as we're in now a Zoom meeting, is that while some people were zoomed in, they were also tuned out. There were some people who we could see in meetings that they were there, but they weren't there. They were here, but they weren't hearing, right? It's one thing to be H-E-R-E here, and it's another thing to H-E-A-R here. And so what we found is a lot of people were there, but when you backed up and said, okay, did you get your stuff done? They didn't know because they were so fatigued. We learned something called Zoom fatigue, right? Where people did need other means. Sometimes they needed a phone call. Sometimes you do need to go grab coffee. Sometimes we do need to get together. What does your post-pandemic playbook look like? Are you ready to flex and do multiple things? Can you build a hybrid version of the things that you've built during this time? Are you willing to look at it and to assess what your people want and see what's working best for the people and teams that you work with? I hope you're willing to consider it. We also learned a new term in 2020. The new term was called social distancing. Social distancing. Who had ever heard that term before? I don't think anybody had ever said, wait, I need you to keep 6 feet social distance. I don't think that was a term until we had to know it and had to realize that it was a need. Social distance. And while we became socially distant, my hope is in our post-pandemic playbook that we would not allow the thought of social distance to actually keep us apart. I believe that the pandemic was a great time to teach us the importance of togetherness, the importance of community being common unity. Common unity. Where do we come together? Where do we see eye to eye? Let's stop focusing on everything that's not the same. Let's stop focusing on how we're different, and let's find the common ground and the common unity that we have so we can all move forward together. Men and women, people of all races and beliefs, all coming together without any thought of, it's okay that you're a female. That doesn't mean you can't lead in business. It's okay you're a minority. It doesn't mean you can't lead in business. So it's okay. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for common thinking. Our common ground is in the way we think. It's in the fact that we believe something the same. It's in the fact that we know who we are, where we're from, where we're going, why we're here. It's the fact that we're answering those questions of life in a level of similarity and symmetry that allows us to move forward together. That's what I want you guys to think about as we go forward. I also want you guys to think, and we're going to give you guys a few minutes for Q&A here in just a minute. There are some things that you need to do. Now, we talked about there's some things you need to mend and some things you need to end. You got to write that in your playbook, mend and end. And I want you to write down friends, family, business partnerships, relationships, projects. Some of those projects you started, you don't have to end them. You don't just need a to-do list. You need a not to-do list. You better decide what you're not going to do. Because if you don't figure out what you're not going to do, you're going to find yourself never getting things done that you said were important to you, because you keep letting other people set your time, attention, and schedule. If you don't have any intention, the person who does have intention will steal your intentions and your attention. And before you know it, you'll never get anything done. All right. So some things we need to end, some things we need to mend. Also, there's some things I want you guys to think about this past year. And I want you to reflect on all the things that you learned and that went on and that happened. And I want you to think there's some things in your life that you need to revisit. You need to revisit the things that you kind of put off and you said, one day I want to do that. One day I want to get a boat. One day I want to go on this vacation. You need to revisit that and decide if now is the time. You need to look at what we just went through and say, I don't know if I'm going to have many more years to do that. Maybe I should start positioning myself for that today. Revisit. Also revise. There's some things that you used to do that aren't good anymore. It's okay. I know the younger generation, they're crazy, but they're not crazy because every generation says the generation after them is crazy. Okay. The generation that started wearing blue jeans as a clothing item were told they were crazy. Blue jeans were minors' pants. Those were work pants. When teenagers started taking their father's pants and wearing them, they said they're crazy. What is wrong with you? Those are work. That's you're wearing a work uniform. What are you doing? And now jeans are the #1 selling clothing item around the world. So I want us to revisit those things. I want us to revise our strategies and our ways of thinking. And I want us to revive some things. There are some things that you let die, you let go in 2020 because of the pandemic. There's some things you let go because you didn't think they were going to work. There's some things you let go, some dreams you let go of that need revived. They need CPR. They need to be brought back to life. You gave up on them for some reason, but I want you guys to be inspired today to revisit, revise, and revive some things that could help you reach the goals that you guys have in the future. That's it for me. I want to give you guys some time for Q&A. This has been super fun. Thank you guys for all your time and attention. I'll turn it over for Q&A.
That was great, Lucas, and inspiring. And for those that are watching it on this live event, great. And for the ones that will be watching it, fantastic. I just got one little question. You're into your sports, and we had a guy called Richard Bland, 48 years old. And he'd played on the European Golf Tour, 478 events. So that's 478 4-day events before he won his first ever event.
Wow.
So he's a pro golfer, and he's made enough money to get by, but he's never, ever won by the time he's 48. He took that form into the US Open just last week, and he was a leader at the halfway. He fell off at the other two. You must have run across some people with persistence. Must play a key in some of this. Can you just quickly give us a snippet on persistence?
Yes, persistence is, let's say, a lost art. It's something that I don't know that we teach it enough. The ability to persist and persevere is so important. All successful people, there's so many stories of people who quit right before they would have succeeded, and the person who came after them picked it up. Here in the United States, there was once upon a time something called the gold rush, right? And everybody was rushing out to the West Coast, rushing out to California, going for gold. There was story after story of people who dug through the mountains and through the dirt for months and months and months, and eventually their teams ran out of time, energy, and money, and they quit, and the next team walked in and got the gold. So persistence and perseverance. But the thing about persistence and perseverance is we have to make it up in our mind before we need it, right? You need to learn to swim before you're drowning. You need to build bridges before you need them. See, we can't be reactive. Again, we have to be proactive. So I want to learn to swim before I'm drowning. I don't want to wait till I'm drowning and then somebody give me a quick swimming lesson. I don't want to wait until the problem is here and now I have to learn perseverance and persistence. No, I need to build persistence and perseverance into myself and into the fabric of the company that I'm working with for or running, right? I need to teach people that, yes, we're going to have to push through. Yes, sometimes things aren't going to work the first time. That's okay. What did we learn? Let's revisit, revise, and revive the things that need to be revived so that we can continue to move forward. John, I love that question. Great question. Thank you.